Hello there, welcome to Cars of Malaysia. So this time around we'll be looking at this, which is the BMW 218 Gran Coupe. Yes, there is no more I in the name, and as for the Malaysian market, we don't have the 1 Series hatchback, neither do we have a non-AMG A-Class hatchback. So this thing costs 240,000 ringgit with the extended warranty and service package included. The closest rival to it would be something like the A200. Let's have a closer look at it. Now, I will be honest with you, I'm not exactly a fan of the new look of this 2 Series Gran Coupe. I kind of prefer the look of the older one, but to each his own. And this isn't exactly a departure from the rest of the lineup from BMW. I think that this long face that it has a bit of similarities with the BMW Z4. I just like to have my BMWs looking slightly pissed off, slightly angrier. Now, some of us have pointed out that the new grille on this 2 Series Gran Coupe looks very similar to the new grille on some newer Volvo cars, and this is because of these diagonals right here. And honestly, if we just single this grille out, I think that it looks pretty decent. It's just a matter of one of these brands will have to change this so that they just look a lot more different, as they should, from each other. And as we're here, I think I can also say that the main reason you buy something like this is because of this badge, right? Albeit being a front-wheel drive small car, this is still a BMW, and as such, we would expect the typical good stuff from the average BMW car. So does this car deliver? Well, we'll have to continue taking a closer look at this 218 Gran Coupe. If this wasn't a BMW, I'm pretty sure there would be less complaints on its looks, because honestly, I think that the design is pretty decent. There's pretty good harmony, pretty decent roofline, and overall it just looks tidy. It's just that because this is a BMW, we have slightly higher expectations. Even I myself would prefer to have this car look a bit more aggressive, and honestly I miss the rear end of the older Gran Coupe, which looked like an emulation of the 8 Series, the bigger 8 Series, which honestly looked really cool. Credit where it's due though, I think that the specification for this 218 for the Malaysian market is pretty decent. I quite like the wheels. These 18-inch wheels look pretty good, and honestly I think they match the look of the car quite well, especially in this color. And if you want to find frameless doors to be a luxury item, well, the good news is this car does come with frameless doors. As for the headlights, the 218 does get the adaptive LED headlights. These are matrix LEDs, albeit with not that many pixels. Although it doesn't feel as high-tech as the ones on bigger BMWs, it is still a plus point over the A200, which only gets reflector LEDs. Alright, now let's have a look inside the 218 Gran Coupe, and on first impression I'd say that it satisfies the typical BMW stuff. So as usual for a BMW, you get this really meaty steering wheel, which is really easy to grip. And honestly, if you compare this to the A200, which had black buttons but with aluminium surround, I think this one right here looks better because it's just black buttons with black surround, and the steering wheel is just a nicer steering wheel to look at and to hold to. And relating to the steering wheel is just the overall ergonomics of the car. And if we talk about ergonomics, I think that this satisfies what a typical BMW should. I think armrest height and everything is pretty decent. My little complaint in terms of ergonomics would probably be the center console. And typically, right, in the i4, 4 Series, 5 Series, right, it just feels a bit more cramped because your center console is higher and things just feel a bit closer to you. Here, the center console feels like it is a level below. So if I was in the 5 Series or even in the i4, and if I recall this correctly, with my elbow on the armrest right here, my arm here would just be level, all right? And I would already be touching the crystal for the iDrive control or whatever buttons there were here, or even the drive selector. But in the 218, as you can see, with my elbow on the armrest, I kind of have to bend my wrist just so that my fingers can reach the things, the controls here. So I would say maybe bring it higher just so that it feels a bit like the big BMWs. And there was one time I sat in the BMW X1, and I recall that it had this wireless phone charger, which was a bit of on a vertical angle, right? Almost vertical, not vertical, but almost vertical. I think that gave a bit of a sense of this this cockpit, or this crammed interior of a BMW, which I think would probably make it look better in this 218. So yeah, that's my feedback for the ergonomics. I would say maybe raise this center console a bit higher so that, you know, with my elbows here, you could just reach the buttons. So my modes, navigation, drive selector is all very well within reach. Right, now if you are a fan of BMW, you wouldn't really complain about the choice of materials in a BMW, right? But if you're looking to compare this against a Mercedes, right, you might feel that the materials feel not as luxurious or not as fancy as what you'd find in a Mercedes. So for example, the door bins have no lining at all. It's just hard plastic, and most of the materials just feel, you know, utilitarian in a premium sense, right? So that's about it. Now, this car, being a smaller BMW, doesn't have the interaction bar that you find in the 5 Series, 7 Series. I think in a way it's a bit of a blessing, because for some of you who are not keen on this really, you know, brightly lit up dashboard, this is a bit easier to stomach. Sure, there's ambient lighting here. It does try to emulate the interaction bar with this, you know, vertical sort of slats here, but it is, I think, a bit more digestible in that sense. Personally, I like to put the ambient lighting in this amber color, or as the system calls it, a papaya color, just because it reminds me of the older BMW cars. Now, let's talk about the seats. Now, I think that the seats are great. I love them, all right? I think they have me sat really snug inside here, and it's not that too sporty of a seat that I'm not comfortable, but yet it does provide this engaging feeling. What's lacking here is that the seats don't have ventilation, so that's a bit of a bummer in our weather. So this review is a bit special because I have this seat which is part of the BMW Safety 360 campaign. This is not a new campaign. I've participated in this last year, and it's about promoting safety using child seats and everything, just to make a journey a bit safer. And this time around they've collaborated with Move On Malaysia, and they've provided me with this seat. And I just want to put this here because I love the fact that some cars have ISOFIX points for the front passenger seat. So there it is. It's just gripping on like that. Of course, this seat also has a top tether, which I have to hook up to the back of the seat. There's another hook right there. One thing you would have to also take note of is whether this seat is in a forward-facing position like this or a rearward-facing position like this. This is because in most cars, when you do put the child seat on the front passenger seat, they would require that you turn off the front passenger airbag when the child seat is in a rearward facing position like this. Some cars do this automatically, some cars don't. Some have a key to the side of the dashboard where you can switch on or switch off the front passenger airbag. Now, some older cars would even require that you turn off the front passenger airbag even for a forward facing child seat. Whatever it is, always look into the owner's manual first to see what is the correct procedure of installing a child seat. Also remember to always push the seat as furthest back as possible if you have this child seat on the front passenger seat. Unfortunately, for most cars, there are no ISOFIX points at the front, and for some cars, well, they do provide the ability to turn off the front passenger airbag, but still without ISOFIX points, so you would have to use a non-ISOFIX type child seat. So for most of us, well, we'll have to put the child seat at the back like this, and depending on your child's height and weight, right, this affects whether or not this seat is forward facing like this, or you could also make it a rearward facing one. So with this seat right here, you have the ability to just turn it easily like that. And as you can observe, I haven't put the top tether yet. It's a bit tight because of the seat position. Should have done this earlier, but I haven't put the top tether yet because the mounting point is over here. So that would affect how much slack you need for the top tether. So with this rearward facing right now, all I need to do is hook up this top tether to the back. This seat that I have here is the Move On Buddymate, which is a pretty lightweight car seat with decent quality materials and a side protection system. Installing the car seat is pretty easy and there is a great degree of adjustability to the seat. Move On aims to simplify parenthood by delivering high quality baby gear that is more accessible and affordable. This Buddymate costs 1,800 ringgit, but for this campaign, Move On is offering a 500 ringgit discount, so it will cost you 1,300 ringgit if you purchase it via the link that is in the description of this video. Now back to the usual stuff. So space in the second row, I will say that it is reflective of a compact car, so I'm only 165 centimeters tall. The driver's seat has been adjusted to my driving position, and for me at least, the leg room is pretty decent. The bench support could use slight improvement, and even at my height, look at the headroom. This is just a typical downside of a Gran Coupe or a coupe roofline. There really isn't that much headroom going on. That aside, one thing I do like about it is that besides having this armrest here, right? So we just pull this, there's an armrest. You can also pull the middle seat here down in case you have some long items from the boot, or if you want to reach something in the boot, you can just put it down just like that. I appreciate this. So this means you have a 40-20-40 split. So this is really practical. What's not really practical inside the second row for the 218 is that there are no pockets behind the front seat. And this is a similar thing that I see inside the 530i. This is a downside if you're looking for maximum practicality. I'll just be honest with you. All we need are pockets behind here. And if you look at everything else, well, the door bins for the second row are quite small. And for the second row passengers, you do get 2 vents here and 2 USB-C ports. So let's have a look at the screen in the 218 Gran Coupe. So this runs on BMW Operating System 9. So if you didn't know it, Operating System 9 is for the smaller BMWs, 1 Series, 2 Series, X1 and X2. It doesn't sound so intuitive, of course, because the bigger BMW cars use 8.5. You would think that 9 is an evolution of 8.5, but it is not. But 8.5 is an evolution of 8 for the bigger BMW cars. Anyway, this is the home screen. So unlike 8.5, you can't show the live vehicle here. So you only have the option between maps and my modes right there. But you still have the ability to put widgets here on the right side. So you can customize these widgets, of course. And this car also has all of the air conditioning controls put inside the screen, so that's accessible via this icon right here, and that's pretty much what you can do with the air conditioning. It does come with dual zone climate control, as you can see at the bottom right here, so that's good. And then of course there is the shortcut menu right here, which you swipe down. No shortcuts have been added. This is also where you deactivate auto start stop. That's what I would usually do. So next, let's look at the navigation system, and you can do that simply by tapping this. So this is the navigation system, and this is quite okay, I guess, in terms of recognizing local points of interest, but still I would say the same thing every time, right? These in-car navigation systems can't quite beat what Google does to the cars. So there's that. Still, I love the interface. I think it looks really good. So there's that. Next, let's look at the list of apps that it has. There are a few categories, so let's not go and see all like that. Let's go through infotainment. So this is where you can see there's connected drive store. Obviously, being a BMW, this has the subscription plans for certain apps and certain functions. Here also we see there's Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, media, maps again, radio, telephone and weather. And as for the vehicle, this is what you have. BMW ID, personal assistant, climate control, we've done that, data privacy, displays, I think you can adjust the brightness and just about, yeah, all things display rated there. Driving settings. Now, this isn't really a fancy car, so there's limited controls here. Driver assistance, drivetrain chassis. That's pretty much about it for what you can do in the 218 Gran Coupe. And of course, next we have My Modes. Yes, of course, BMW with its My Modes. This is something that affects a lot of things in the car, right? The ambient lighting, the driving profile, and you know, whatever extent it can do. So there are a few things here: personal, sport, efficient, expressive, relaxed, digital art, silent. I think these things are what you would also find in another BMW car. Pretty sure the 5 Series has the same set of My Modes. Next, there's also exterior lighting. Now you see that the controls are here for automatic. If you want it automatic, this is dip beam right now. I can put it into automatic or dip beam just like that. I can also turn on the rear fog light just like that. But the control isn't limited to just this, so you can still use the left stalk, the indicator stalk, to adjust these things. So I'm just going to do it from the indicator stalk right now. I'm gonna turn on the rear fog light, turn it off. This is just from the rear, from the left stalk on the steering wheel, and you can also switch to either dip beam or automatic from the stalk. So it's not limited to the screen. So that's good. Next, let's look at the parking menu. Right, what's here? So I have driven this for a while now. Looks like this is the extent of the parking camera. So looks like we just have a reverse camera. Even if I engage panorama view, that's about it. Okay, you can clean the camera if you want, and I think we'll squirt some water there to clear the view up for you. Next, vehicle status. This is typical stuff you'd want to know. Tire pressure monitoring system is always a welcome feature. You have Wi-Fi, live vehicle. So this is the thing that if it's in the operating system 8.5, you could show this on the home screen, but not for operating system 9 apparently. So this is the live vehicle journey data, vehicle status, and of course if you turn the steering wheel, it will respond accordingly. So that's cool. There's also terrain view. I'm not sure why you really want this in a 2 Series Gran Coupe, but it is there. And of course, this car comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I'm an Android user, and this is the Android Auto. So that's about it. All right, so let's have a look at the boot of the 218 Gran Coupe. So it is pretty much a sedan boot where it only opens up to there. And it isn't a powered tailgate, so it's just like that, but there is no button there to, close it. You have to just slam it, but opening it does have an electric release, and it's a bit springy so that it opens all the way to the top just like that. Now, looking at the boot, this is not a big boot. It definitely is not bigger than the typical C-segment saloon that you can get at a lower price. I think that's because it has chosen to have a pretty high boot floor with pretty decent space underneath the boot floor. So the boot floor is almost the same height as the lip right here. And if we open that up, well, there's a bit more space there with some decent depth. Here we have the first aid kit. There's a tow hook right there. And this one is basically just the floor already. I've tried opening this up, it's not that easy. But yeah, that's pretty much the floor of it already. I will show this boot loaded up with some of my camera equipment later on, but first let's explore what we have here. So to the right side here, there's this net, so you can put some stuff there and hopefully it doesn't fly around too much. And to the left hand side, well, that is the cover which hides the tire repair kit. So there you go. I think that's the sealant and the pump. So no spare, and this car does not come with run flats. From the boot here, we can fold down the seats, the rear seats, and like I said earlier, this car comes with a 40-20-40 split. So I have the child seat on the left hand side. I'm just gonna fold down the right side from here, and let's see how easy that is. So pull that. I think it's already pulled, and let's try to fold the seat down. So pull it down, and that is the 40. Fold it down, and with the child seat on that side, I can still fold down the center part. So that's basically 60 fold down right now, and let's just get the view from the back. This is pretty much your boot space with 60 on the right side folded down. Alright, so that's the boot filled up with some of my stuff. So there are 3 backpacks there, 2 over there, 1 here, 1 large tripod right there, and 3 umbrellas and 1 camping chair right here. So that is pretty much the size of the boot. Definitely not the biggest, but still practicality is decent. Now let's go for a bit of a drive in the 218. So the powertrain is really an entry-level powertrain by BMW. So it's a 3-cylinder inline 3, 1.5 litre turbocharged engine with a 7-speed DCT. And honestly, you can find a similar configuration in something a bit more affordable, right? And this one puts out 156 horsepower and 230 Newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 is done in about 8 seconds, and top speed is 230 kilometers an hour. Now, I will just put it out there that the engine isn't the strength of this car. There are cars with a similar configuration which put out a bit more power, and there are cars with a 1.5 litre engine but with 1 extra cylinder that also put out a bit more power. So this is putting out enough power to give you an immediate driving character, right? So it's not slow by any means, right? But now I'm in silent. The mode is called silent right now. This is the relaxed driving experience. If I just change it to the sport mode, right? I think it will bring up the engine noise a bit. All right. There is an immediacy to the car, which I think is what a BMW should be, and it's good that it's there. But still, I'd classify it as a junior level of what a BMW should be. So there's that. One thing that I would praise about the car in terms of this powertrain is that the shift logic of the transmission is really quite good. So I have been driving this in town, and I've also been driving this on the highway, and some twisties too, and it isn't unsure of itself. It knows what gear to be in, and it does it quite well. And this is quite important actually, because this car doesn't come with paddle shifters. But still, I'd say that the shift logic is plausible. While some cars, some more affordable cars put out more power whatsoever, this one provides a more decent, a more pleasurable driving experience just because of this better shift logic. Still, I would prefer if we had the freedom to change gears at our will, but then again, it is good enough. Next, let's talk about the handling of this car. So my favorite thing about it is its steering. I mean, as expected from a BMW, I think that the steering is decent. Even when I just sat in the car before driving it for the first time, I was just collecting the car. The ergonomics, the way that the steering feels in your hands, the thick girth of the steering rim just tells you that it should be a pleasure to drive. And after driving it for a few days, it is, all right? I like the way that it steers. It's very responsive, very quick. But I would say that given the size of the car and maybe the suspension, this feels slightly unsettled when you take some corners at slightly higher speeds, even when you go through bumps and all that. And this is a front-wheel drive little car. I would say that I've driven other small front-wheel drive cars with similar power outputs whatsoever, which are grippier than this. Not to say that it isn't grippy. Now I'm taking corners at about what, 100 kilometers an hour here, right? It just feels not as confident as some other compact cars, whether hatchback or sedan. I've tried cars which are a bit grippier than this. So there's that. Now, since we're on that topic already, let's talk about the comfort of the car. So my first impression upon just driving it off was, okay, this is firm, right? And it doesn't feel as mature as some bigger BMWs, okay? It allows a bit more intrusion of vibrations and undulations into the cabin. But if this is your first BMW, this is a pleasure, especially if you're coming from something from a different league, right? It does have a premium feel to the ride, so there's that. And I've had passengers in the back seat, and although my mind wants to complain about its ride, the passengers had little to no complaints. Next, let's talk about the NVH levels of the car. So to me, I think the wind noise is a bit apparent, and it's probably due to the use of the frameless doors on the car. Road noise, tire noise is also slightly more apparent, at least to me, and it's probably due to the tire choice. Hopefully better tires could change that experience. And engine noise is loud actually if you're from the outside, especially when you hear the car start up. But credit where it's due, I think insulation for that is quite good, right? It's loud when you start it up in the morning, cold starts, it is loud. But to me, from inside here, it's not so apparent, and that's good. I've driven other cars with, similar powertrain setup, and there's a bit more noise intrusion into the cabin. And since I'm driving right now, I might as well let you have a listen. So I'm going at about 90 kilometers an hour right now. 100. Yeah, that's pretty much the noise levels in this car. Lastly, let's talk about the advanced driver assistance systems in the car. So this does come with some decent safety features, but it is guilty of not being equipped with adaptive cruise control. So it only has the standard cruise control, which only works at speeds above 30 kilometers an hour. And this isn't the only car within this price range which is guilty of this. So there are other cars like this which also don't give you adaptive cruise control. Another thing that this car is guilty of, and it's not the only one that's guilty of this, is that the parking camera, right, is only the reverse camera. So there's no 360 view whatsoever. And again, it's not the only car guilty of this. And I think it's about time that cars within this price range, right, these small premium cars come with these features. These are already available on other cars, so why not? It shouldn't be too difficult. Alright, that's all that I can share with you about the BMW 218 Gran Coupe. I hope that you found this information useful in helping you make your next car buying decision. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, you could give it a like, share, or subscribe to the YouTube channel. We also have a website at carsofmalaysia.com. Here we have the latest automotive news and car buying guides. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.